I'm Linda Fox in the PhocusWire studio, and I'm with Filip Filipov, who's CEO of OAG. Welcome. Great to have you back in the studio.
Thank you for inviting me back.
So you are, by my calculation, but maybe I'm out, 6 months into the role.
Yeah, there. I started at the beginning of the year, and it's been a journey. It's reinforced a little bit of a suspicion I had that strategy matters, but execution matters even more.
Okay.
So now, as we're focused to build the systems that gives us the technology and product layer to scale, I'm quite excited to see that we're aligned as a team. The strategy is clear. We know where we're headed, why, and now it's up to us to execute. So execution matters.
Okay, so within those 6 months, surprises, successes, what are you proud of?
A number of positive surprises, a number of successes as well. I think the work that we're doing on the technology front is starting to pay off little by little. Just last week, we introduced a new version of our flagship product, which I know it's coming 6 months into my tenure, but it's exciting to see how we are making products a lot more intuitive, using AI and allowing our customers to be getting intelligence directly rather than just data sets. In terms of surprises, I think one thing that is surprising me is that the customer preferences are actually probably moving faster than what technology can do to meet them, both on the consumer side, but also on the B2B side where we operate. So the requirement is like, oh my God, can we do this? And of course you can if you give it enough time to build it. But I think as an industry, we're probably trying to catch up with the customers' dreams of what the product could look like. So that was a little bit of a surprise to me, how quickly technology is moving, to be honest.
Was there anything that you walked in on day one and now you're 6 months in that you went, I know it's going to absolutely be like this, and it has been?
The adoption of AI within the organization, I think we talk quite a bit about how AI will change the product interfaces, whether that's, again, consumer or B2B, but the thing that excites me the most about us as an organization, and again, we're almost a century old, the speed and pace of adoption of AI to allow our processes to be a lot better has been delightfully surprising. And I knew it would happen, but I didn't know it would happen that fast. Now the teams across all of the functions, not just product engineering, but also you have marketing, you have finance, you have commercial, they're using AI, and we're never going back to what it was before.
But I mean, you're in the ideal segment for the industry because it's data. It's all about data, and then that is the sweet spot, isn't it? So, I think
there is a lot of truth to saying that the models are starting to converge. Initially, we had this kind of competition where ChatGPT or OpenAI will release one model, and everyone will be, this is the best thing that we've seen, and then Gemini will be the next day, and then Anthropic will be the third. That still happens. But I think for the vast majority of the cases, I think they're starting to converge. And also, if you take a look at the benchmarks that they established themselves, by the way, they seem to be kind of like exactly in the same place. Now, what's interesting, now that we have solved a little bit the training and then probably inference is getting cheaper, so the cost of running those models goes down. What's interesting is how do you feed that model? So what goes into this so you can have a differentiated output? And that's where data sits. Proprietary data, interconnected data, unified data is critically important to come to the right conclusions, because even if you feed information that is a little bit off, let's say, that might have a huge impact, especially in an industry like ours, whether that's air travel or accommodations. So data is the critical piece. That's why we're heavily investing in data quality. We've been pretty good historically, and we're happy about that. We're further augmenting our data to make sure that there are no mistakes, because ultimately what we give to the model will percolate through the systems. So data is critical, and that makes me really excited. I'll be a little bit more anxious if I was building in consumer today. I'm very happy where we are.
So you've always loved the travel industry. It's evident from the roles you've done, and you've come through and you've stepped back from it and you've observed, but now you've come back in this leadership role. What are the challenges?
The challenges internally for us is to make sure that we meet the customer demand. As I said at the beginning, the customer expectation is really high right now. So for us as an organization, it is to meet the customer demands, because ultimately we as a business need to serve our customers, which means that we need to change some of the processes that were established before. Even playbooks from 5, 6, 10 years ago are not relevant anymore. So internally, that's a little bit of a challenge. And personally, I find it an interesting dichotomy to be thinking about what we need to do today so that we can meet the customer demand today, and also what are the bets that we're going to do in the future. Communicating that And keeping that all the time, the long-term and the short-term horizon, has been an interesting personal challenge for me. And sometimes I need to go with the conviction and willingness to make the changes and decisions, which might not be obvious today, but probably they will become a little bit later on. As an industry, if you allow me to go into that direction, I think we're at a stage where we need to take ownership of what travel will become. I think in the last 2 or 3 years, we've heard on stage here at PhocusWire, which has been fantastic with so many speakers, it's early innings. We don't know yet. We're experimenting with AI. I get it. But at the same time, it's on us to actually say that's how the experience is going to be. Let's not wait for the foundational models to tell us what it needs to be.
So we should define
what it is. We should define how we work together. Travel is a force for good. It's one of the most incredible industries in the world. Being connected is important for us. Like, you don't do travel just in your own little area.
Bubble.
It's global. So it is on us to get together. That's why I really appreciate what you folks are doing at PhocusWire, because it puts us together. But again, challenge for the industry, I think, is the missing vision of how do we take ownership of that narrative and build the best experience for the consumers and the B2B companies on our own, rather than waiting for somebody else to tell us what it needs to be.
Is that because we just get so bogged down in the everyday of, getting the travelers on their trips, dealing with every crisis that there is out there that hits travel, and then of course the thin margins? Is that why we don't address the bigger picture?
I don't think this is the case. I mean, the problems that we've faced as an industry, with us, any crisis, any event, whether that's medical, whether that's military confrontation, always resonates louder because it affects travel immediately.
Right.
But what we've noticed is that travel always bounces back.
Yeah.
And it's actually almost all the time even better than what it was before, because it forces us as an industry to go and make the decisions that we haven't been able to make before. I think it's a challenging situation for a lot of people running companies and for all of us as an industry, because I'm sure every board starts with, how do we think about AI, and is Google and Gemini and Anthropic going to eat our lunch or not? I think there are many opportunities to play, but I would love to see us a little bit bolder in defining that vision. So no, I don't think it is new. I don't think it is the conflicts that we're experiencing or the shortage of planes or any kind of changing environment in tech. In tech, we've seen all the changes. Linda, it's been travel agent with a phone, internet, mobile, cloud.
Right, and yet we still don't seem to be able to define the vision you talk about.
Well, that is true. But I do hope that ultimately this is the vision that we thought about 20 years ago. I think at the time we were talking about personalization, right? And how amazing it will be that now Facebook knows who you are and then we're going to personalize the offer. Never happened.
Yeah, I think that's probably good.
I agree. I agree with you. I think we're getting to a stage where the beauty of travel, going to a travel agent, them knowing you, knowing your children's names, understanding you, now we can actually produce it at scale.
Right.
And that is incredible. I think it's the best time to build in travel in the sense of like the user experience. Now, how you get to the customer might change given the agentic experience, as we talked about the bigger models. But I think the infrastructure we need to change to accommodate for that incredible future that we always wanted. Now it's here.
Yeah.
Let's grab it.
Okay. You quite a lot yesterday at PhocusWire Middle East event talked about AI being 100% hyped. And I think there was two things I wanted to come back on. One was this idea of it not being equally distributed. Yeah. And the other one is this idea of, basically an end-to-end booking is probably some time away. Let's start with it not being equally distributed. Share your thoughts there.
So my thoughts are, sometimes we would like to look at the good cases and the examples that work. And typically where innovation happens, whether that's in Silicon Valley or in Europe or in parts of Asia, we think that this is equally distributed across the globe. I think there are a lot of countries that are yet to experience the power of AI and what it means. The fact that most of the models are the better functionality is paid limits how many people and even companies can actually deploy AI. So I think when we say about the inevitable future with AI, that is true, but I think it will take some time before it reaches all corners. There is also an interesting moment. A startup a smaller size company with the right decision makers in place can move quite fast.
Yeah.
If you're running a big organization that has established processes for the last 30, 40 years, you need to make sure that PI information is not leaked. You need to make sure that you know your customer. Most of the big banks, right now, the best AI they can use in the company is Copilot in Word.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying it's not equally distributed. I think it will take a little bit of time till we get to a stage where that will be similarly to the cloud and different languages we used before. But I don't think it's a straight line. And I don't think the way people travel book travel in London and in Silicon Valley or let's say in Beijing and Shanghai, I don't think that represents the world.
Right. So I wanted to ask you about that, because that was the other thing you said, that different regions use AI differently. So again, talk to us about what you're seeing there.
So I'm a student, so I don't have a consumer eye into this as we're in B2B. But the way I understand it is it's yet to be seen how AI will be applied into the day-to-day work for a big portion of the world. That still costs money, that still costs talent to implement that within the organization. So most of the AI for a big portion of the world is still used as kind of an exploration. Let me just go and ask a bunch of questions the way we used Facebook and Google before. So we're not reaching that stage yet. Now, on the second point that I think I mentioned yesterday is I think it is overhyped a little bit because, again, when we say AI, is that the product? Is that the technology that builds the product? Is that the distribution? And we kind of like put it all together into one. And I think we're not there yet. So that's why it's a little bit overhyped. It's as if it's going to fix absolutely everything.
Okay.
Any developer who's listening or anyone who knows a little bit of technology, having an end-to-end agent to push code on production that services millions of customers, possible, but it wouldn't work all the time. So it's a big risk. I think we need to walk the distance.
Okay. So that being said, AI hype, do you see innovation in other parts of the industry? Because of course OAG does that nice, here's 3 pieces of innovation happening, you do that report. So do you see other pieces of innovation happening in the industry that you think, wow, that's amazing, that perhaps the industry isn't paying enough attention to or doesn't perhaps see them as innovation?
I think there is a lot of noise, and usually we'll pay a lot more attention to the bigger pieces of news, like Anthropic releases Mythos, which is forbidden for a lot of companies to use. Great example, video camera actually seeing the passenger walk through the terminal and establishing who they are, so they just go straight through security, and they don't have to go and check in those boxes that you put your luggage and you make sure that it's there. It immediately captures it. That happened in Japan. And I think it's incredible innovation, but we're not going to hear about it for quite some time. I think there are very interesting pieces that are appearing in different areas of the world, but again, a lot of noise happening at the moment. In our own kind of area, if I can use an example with us, we had 300 lines of code refactored, which usually will take years, in a matter of 6 weeks. And it's a lot lighter, it's a lot better, so it's working there. But you don't hear that story in the news.
Well, you do hear it sometimes, but then, I don't know, we as kind of the media got a little bit sick of companies using code production as their measure of success.
It's like lines of code is never the measure of success. In fact, it's the opposite.
Right.
Like I am also with you because I've been looking at some of the industry announcements and they say, we just signed a deal with an Anthropic or OpenAI. And then you get a little bit under the hood and you realize that they've signed an enterprise partnership similar to we're using now Microsoft for our email. So it's not like you sign a deal with Anthropic to create a new experience. You're using Anthropic or OpenAI or anyone else to be better at what you do. So I think there are pockets. I think we're going to see a plethora of startups hopefully pitching this fall at PhocusWire, who will be like, here's the agent that will handle everything in the journey. I think that's hard to pull off because the underlying infrastructure right now is not ready to handle that. But as a concept, as a thought, I think that's ultimately the direction where we're headed. So
are you a fan of, so say a company does do an enterprise deal, are you a fan of letting AI loose across an organization or just a select group of people?
I think when you're rolling it out, you need to understand what the organization can accept. If you're a good technology company or a small startup, that's a lot easier than anything else. If you already have a scaled business that services customers, letting it run the way they want it is probably a risk. In our case, we actually have a small team, champions, who are actually going after implementing AI in the different parts of the organization. So it was not like one and for all. Everyone now uses it. There's training, there's demo sessions where we share what we've done. It goes team by team. And now I think we're 85% of our org uses AI in some shape or another.
Okay, so targeted.
Every day. So it is over time. Now imagine if you need to roll that out, and we're small, we're 350 people. If you have 25,000 people working at an airline or at a bank, like how that needs to go and like what's required.
Yeah, no, different scenario altogether. So data, and what we always hear from airlines is silos, fragmentation. If only we could get it all in the same place, then we could get meaningful insight, and then we could implement. So where's that journey at the moment? Because I know some bigger players have made significant inroads and they can do things that they weren't able to do even a year ago. But where do you think generally the industry is?
I think we're very early, despite the fact that initially we don't even capture the information and the data. So we started storing it on premise and then we moved to the cloud. It's still not connected. Even if you manage to get it within your organization in one place, then you need to have everyone else, because as we spoke about it, travel is superbly interconnected. You need to have the first flight being connecting to the second one, which means two separate airlines need to communicate with each other. So we're very early on. In fact, I'm still having conversations with some airlines whereby they say, we don't know the start of the funnel. We can give you only what the prices are. They don't even know what the booking is. So even that example, which is how you make money, is not connected with an airline. So we're still early. I think they're leaders in the space. I think some of the technology companies are empowering that, but we're still like a siloed industry. Which is kind of sad. I mean, the experience where you land, your hotel knows that your flight has been delayed and they prepare your room. That is still not possible. And you're thinking about it, it's like, why? Like, you have my information. I'm staying at that place. The place hasn't changed.
I booked through OTA or ground agent, whatever. So
even agencies like Expedia and Booking, who can handle more of the trip, not all of it, but a lot more than before, they're still probably finding it hard to follow the traveler throughout the trip. So that's an issue. So back to your question, where are we? Still early. But I think we'll repeat that in 5 years as well.
Okay. So that bit perhaps isn't going to move as fast as we'd like. If you could wave a wand and change one thing in the industry and overnight it would change, what would that be?
Oh, wow. Honestly, I think if we can connect exactly what we spoke about easily and then allow anyone to build on that experience, because there's going to be so much creativity when you don't have to fight with supply. How do you get access to this and how do you get access to that? If all of that is available, it's like it will become a canvas, and I think amazing experiences will be born out of it. I don't think we as an industry are understanding that enough, and each one of us wants to build our own experience. So with a magic wand, I'll change the back end from one day to the next.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Linda. Appreciate your time.